Freedom fighters are very important to our country as they are inspiration and motivation for others to fight injustice. They were pillars behind our freedom movement, and they were the ones who made people aware of their rights and power. They also taught us how to selflessly love our country. A wonderful morning to everyone. For the ones who sacrificed themselves to secure our beautiful country, and from the colonists, for the ones who taught us how to fight and not just keep shut what is ours, to protect what we can proudly call our home today. Let's celebrate this day with joy and honor in the loving memory of Shri Lala Lajpat Rai, one of our fearless freedom fighters. Now, I'd like to call Shubham to speak a few words on Shri Lala Lajpat Rai.
This year will mark the 76th year of independent India, a freedom which was not free, freedom which cost us countless lives, and today, remember one of those many great freedom fighters who fought for us to be born in a free country, Shri Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai were a writer, politician, and an exceptional advocate of the Indian National Congress and a leader of the Hindu supremacy movement. He was known as the Punjab Kesari for his fierce acts of protest against the British and his contribution in achieving freedom. Lala was part of the famous triumvirate during the beginning of the 19th century, popularly known as Lal Bal Pal, who changed the political disclosure of the Indian independence movement. It consisted of Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal. Lal Bal Pal mobilized Indians across the country against the Bengal partition and the demonstrations, strikes, and boycotts of British goods that began in Bengal, soon spread to other regions in a broader protest against the Raj. Lala Lajpat Rai could practicing law in 1907 to completely devote himself to the freedom fight of the country. He joined the Indian National Congress, and soon after joining the Congress party, Lajpat Rai took part in political agitation in the Punjab, for which he got deported to Burma without trial. During World War I, Lajpat Rai lived in the United States, where he founded the Indian Home Rule League of America in New York City. He returned to India in early 1920, and later that year, he led a special session of the Congress party that launched Mohandas Gandhi's non-cooperation movement. In 1928, he introduced the Legislative Assembly resolution for the boycott of the British Simon Commission on constitutional reform. Shortly thereafter, he died after being attacked by police during a demonstration in Lahore. His death inspired and sparked a fire amongst young freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh, who then went on to continue his fight and avenge the death of those who died due to the baton charge. Today, we remember him for his work and his fight, which contributed to the freedom of our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shubham. Today we have with us Sir Major General Sanjay Soy. Sir has served for 36 years in military service. Sir has the distinction of of 7 tenures in Jammu and Kashmir and active participation in operations in counter-insurgency and border area. Now, I request Sir to enlighten us with a few words.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kriti Chandra, for the introduction, and Mr. Shubham for the introduction of our patriot Lala Lajpat Rai. Thank you so much, Amity International Business School, Dr. Nitin, for the invite and for this prestigious event, which you have. This is an annual event for the remembering the sacrifices and struggles of Shri Lala Lajpat Rai for the independence of India. In fact, I would say that we remember this sentence. I think किसको नहीं मालूम वो वाक्य जो आज भी हमारे दिल में जोश भर देता है मेरे शरीर पर पड़ी एक एक लाठी ब्रिटिश सरकार के ताबूत में एक एक कील का काम करेगा। ये जो शब्द उन्होंने कहे, जबकि उनके शरीर पूरे दर्द से करा रहा था, शरीर पे लाठियां पड़ी हुई थी और वो बेड पे थे, और ये शब्द तब निकल के आ रहे पंजाब के शेर से, पंजाब के केसरी से। दैट्स व्हाई पीपल यूज्ड टू कॉल हिम लॉयन ऑफ पंजाब, पंजाब केसरी। आई मीन, he led by example, and this is a sentence which have become iconic. This sentence became force by which the people rallied with him, no matter if he made a supreme sacrifice, but the freedom continued, the movement became more vigorous, and 1947 we got the independence. I mean, this is what I thought I'll start with this sentence, with this quote by Shri Lala Lajpat Rai, जो आज भी मुझे जोश दिला देता है कि लाठियां पड़ी हैं, पर उसका गम नहीं। उन्होंने कहा था सारा शरीर लहू से भिगो दिया, पर बुज़दिली के दाग से माथा बचा लिया। शरीर पे लाठियां, पूरा खून से शरीर लथपथ है, पर डरा नहीं मैं, कमजोर नहीं हुआ, बुज़दिल नहीं हुआ, कायर नहीं हुआ। I mean, if we have this kind of leaders who lead by example, who leads from front, independence of India was possible because of we had such committed leaders like Lala Lajpat Rai, and I'm so grateful to you all that this is the day, 28th January is the day, birth centenary, and then we are remembering him. Amity is making a event so that the people of today, the youth of today, understands what the freedom struggle meant for us. Why, when we are living the free air, we are breathing free, we are enjoying the freedom, this because of the sacrifices made by our legendary leaders like Lala Lajpat Rai. In fact, I would say that he was born on 28th January 1865, and like Shubham has rightly brought out, that he felt that freedom cannot be get by begging, by requesting. हाथ जोड़ के आजादी नहीं मिलेगी वो, because British government was totally indifferent to our demands. British media was totally indifferent. का दम से लेंगे, जोर से लेंगे, पता चले उनको कि भारत में दम है. That's why this Garam Dal was formed by the Lal, Bal or Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. एक philosophy change, the thought process change, totally different. That is what led to the civil disobedience movement, which became, I mean, that was the thought behind the civil disobedience movement कि बहुत हो गया, we can't keep begging, we can't go with begging bowl कि please हमें आजादी दे दीजिए. एक nuisance बनना है. British के लिए we got to make it expensive for the British to stay on here. We got to make it difficult for them to stay on here. We got to make them think twice. Why should we hold on to this impossible situation like India where people are so awakened? That is where the starting was here. Lal, Bal and Pal. मांग के नहीं मिलेगी आजादी. Then Punjab ka share, I said that in what Shubham had rightly brought out, 1907 he was deported to Mandalay in Burma, that time now Myanmar, without trial. Though they had to get him back the same year because they could not prove any charge against him. There was no evidence of treachery and fighting against the country. So they had to get him back. And in 1914, he quit the law practice, which was doing very well, went to US, UK, Japan, met the revolutionary people there, and he was in touch with the people across the globe so that the movement gets support from all over. I mean, great vision. Imagine, it's not limited to his town, to his Punjab, to his local, this thing, because he was born from an educated family. Himself was a law graduate and very well educated. He knew the what is happening in the world, what is the meaning of freedom, what how do we get it, and what are the benefits of freedom of India. That's what he had understood very well, and he decided that we got to this thing. In between, besides political, I mean, we can say that he is the one man who is multifaceted personality. Multifaceted. He's led a life of ceaseless activities, ceaseless, continuous, something or the other, whether it is Arya Samaj. He was drawn to the Arya Samaj. He worked for the Hindu reformist movement. He worked for the Hindu Relief Fund, formed the Hindu Relief Fund where funds were mobilized for the famine relief in India. And he wrote articles, started newspaper, and he thought of empowering India. We cannot, I mean, unless we have power, unless we understand the meaning, and unless we become self-reliant, जो आज आत्मनिर्भर भारत चल रहा है, unless we become self-reliant, he focused on the self-help industry with industrialization within India, education within India, technical education within India, started the Lahore University. I mean, imagine social work, political work, law, education, technical empowerment. I mean, 24 hours would have been less for him. That's what I can say, that total ceaseless dedication to the self for the nation. That's the kind of thing he was there. And he was the one who also thought of national education program. When he started Lahore University was when the Swadeshi movement was on. Then he got the idea after the partition of the Bengal that we got to have our own education system. We got to have our own university. We got to teach. That's why I just mentioned that he started the Lahore University. And he was also a big writer. Number of articles he wrote, number of in the various magazines, in the basically for the reform, for the Arya Samaj, for the religion, and for the freedom struggle. So, I mean, it's very, very difficult to find such a personality during that time. And in fact, one of the British report pointed out once, the head and center of the entire movement, freedom movement, is Lala Lajpat Rai. He is revolutionary and a political enthusiast who is inspired by the most intense hatred of the British government for his freedom struggle and all that, which I mentioned, that he was also elected the president of Indian National Congress at Calcutta in 1920. He was also elected as the president of All India Trade Union Congress, and he wanted that our first want, highest devotion and greatest sacrifice from us. That is the statement, that is a demand by him for the people of India. And he said that our first want and then is to raise our patriotism to a level of religion and to aspire to live or die for it. I mean, जो देशभक्ति धर्म है, एक जज्बा होना चाहिए, ये चीजें वो लेके आए कि it's like madness. We got to have that madness of patriotism, and then only we can think of living or dying for it. And that's the kind of feeling he infused in the people of India. He used to charge people. People used to get charged up, emotional, energized. I mean, that's why people used to call him, as I brought out earlier, Punjab ka Sher. Sher ki tarah ji. Sher ki tarah ji. And he has been champion of moral courage than of physical courage. That's the thing. And basically, the lesson of millennium-old civilized problem, learning a correct message from the political community, separatism being voiced. He was basically more for India, more for freedom of India, about this thing. And yes, in between, he also worked for Hindu Mahasabha, and he was also which had leaders like Madan Mohan Malviya, and realized that larger national interest was being sidetracked because of the divisive politics. So he also felt that something need to be done for the revival of old culture of India, old pride of India, old ethos of India. That is where he worked for with Madan Mohan Malviya ji and other people. Imagine the kind of wide spectrum he would work. And gifted with perceptive mind, he was prolific writer. As I mentioned earlier, authored several works like Unhappy India, Young India and Interpretation, History of Arya Samaj, England's Debt to India, and many other biography on Swami Dayanand, Mazzini, Garibaldi, and imagine he, like I mean, empowering India, education, industries, and he founded Punjab National Bank and Lakshmi Insurance Company, which later on became the LIC of India. Imagine at that time, he's thinking of these lines of not only fight, but also thinking of bigger picture of growth, economy, development, empowerment. That's the kind of thing which he felt. And ultimately, when we talk of in 1928, when the Simon Commission came to India, Britain had instituted a Section 144, and he was in Ludhiana. He went to Lahore, and then they led a non-violent procession against Britain, because the Simon Commission was the one which was formed to check the political conditions in India, and it had no member from India. They had only British. So obviously the report would have been one-sided. That was not accepted to the people, and then he took it as an issue and led this thing. When the commission was visiting Lahore on 30th October 1928, Lala Lajpat Rai led the non-violent movement in protest. Black flags were raised. They chanted, "Simon, go back. Simon Commission, wapas chao." This is not acceptable. Then James Scott, who was the SP Lahore, he ordered the lathi charge. And yes, Lala Lajpat Rai was brutally assaulted by the British authorities. He was seriously injured, and which caused the untimely death of towering freedom fighter in Lahore on 17 November 1928. Bhagat Singh was the witness to this. And Lala Lajpat Rai, that time he had said, which I mentioned earlier, that I declare that the blow struck at me today will be the last nail in the coffin of British rule in India, which I started my talk with this, कि मेरे शरीर पर पड़ी एक एक लाठी ब्रिटिश सरकार के ताबूत का एक एक कील का काम करेगी. Bhagat Singh, who was a Hindustan Socialist Republican Association member and also was in touch with Lala Lajpat Rai, he took up arms, and they killed John P. Sanders, who was the ASP Lahore, and he was arrested after that when they threw the bombs in the parliament, and he was hanged. But the fact is that this sacrifice made by Lala Lajpat Rai enthused the people, brought a revolution. The energy levels were so high that after that, British found it very, very difficult. And as we all know, the civil disobedience movement, subsequently led by Mahatma Gandhi, was also affected or influenced by the philosophy of Lala Lajpat Rai, and which ultimately led Britishers to leave India in 1947. So, in fact, when we say that, imagine the Lahore, which was such a developed and educated city, and that is the time. Now we see after partition where it has gone. There's a lesson for us. There are many lessons for us. Is that, imagine the country which focuses on education, which focuses on culture, which focuses on the sense of pride in our history we develop, the way India has developed, and where the Lahore, which was the education center at some point of time, where it has gone. Where it has gone. I mean, in Pakistan, because Pakistan focus was totally anti-India, Kashmir, and then they were only talking of spending more money on these issues rather than development of the people, development, education, or empowering people. There's a difference which we see today. And the other thing which I message for the younger generation, imagine the multitasking he was doing. Imagine the kind of commitment which he had. Imagine the commitment for the patriotism. So, I mean, this kind of thing, if this kind of passion is there with us, because we need such people even now. If we got independence, it doesn't mean that we can remain independent for all. We got to preserve it. I am from army. I know that how we protected the independence of India a number of times from the misadventures of Pakistan, China, and the militancy, and the trying to bleed India through 100 cuts. All these things are happening, and we are trying. But then, message for the students of MET, and through MET, message for others, because this will be on subsequently shared, this thing, that wherever we are, whatever we are doing, we got to put in our best. We got to be totally dedicated, committed, and then only you will find that in the collective growth is your growth also. It is ultimately the team. It has to grow as a team. The nation we consider as a team. If the nation grows, we grow. If nation sinks, we sink. See, a clear example are Sri Lanka, Pakistan, where the country is not doing well. I mean, even if you are good, what can you do? How much can you do? How much can you grow? Here in India, sky is the limit. Now with the Atmanirbhar Bharat theme, and we are looking for wherever I go, I look at the youngsters. I say that you are the future of India, because 50% population of India is below 25, and you are the one who will shape the future of India. And you got to have these kinds of feeling, and we got to have the feelings of research, innovations. Those are things we need to have. And you are the one we can draw lessons from Lala Lajpat Rai, Bhagat Singh, Mahatma Gandhi, who selflessly fought for India without any self-gain. But here, if you do things dedicatedly, you remain committed, you will not only gain for yourself, but also overall growth of India. Here I finish, and I would like to say in the end that Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Truly said, sir. Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Thank you for your words. Freedom is something which is everyone's right and shouldn't be begged for. It should be fought over with all their might.
Thank you so much, sir. Your words really, really inspire us. Now we have poetry by Sumod Singh ji and Deepak Gupta ji.
जय हिंद दोस्तों, मैं भारतीय थल सेना का पूर्व सैनिक कमांडो समोद सिंह भारतीय राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस के गर्म दल के नेता बाललाल पाल में से एक लाला लाजपत राय जी का 28 जनवरी को जन्मदिवस है। मैं अमेठी परिवार और प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर गुरेंद्र सिंह जी को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। अमेठी पूरे भारतवर्ष का पूरे विश्व में और एक अग्रणी संस्थाओं में से एक है एजुकेशन के क्षेत्र में। जिस प्रकार से अमेठी कार्य कर रही है, अमेठी के जो कर्मठ हमारे योग्य प्रोफेसर हैं, वो जिस प्रकार से अपनी लगनशीलता के लिए जाने जाते हैं, पूरे भारतवर्ष में एक उनका अलग ही मुकाम है। मैं उन सबको नमन करता हूं और 4 पंक्तियां कहता हूं। प्यार और तकरार की बातें हर व्यक्ति अपने अलग अलग प्रकार से रखता है। एक सैनिक होने के नाते मैं किस प्रकार से कहता हूं, मैंने कहा था कि प्यार की हर नाव में पतवार होनी चाहिए और नौका हर सफर में पार होनी चाहिए। सरहदों के पार चाहे मौत हो या जिंदगी, जीत हिंदुस्तान की हर बार होनी चाहिए। और चूंकि सैनिक हूं, 4 पंक्तियां और सैनिकों की तरफ से, सरहदों पर खड़े हुए हमारे सैनिकों की तरफ से, पूरे भारतवासियों के लिए, देशवासियों के लिए। सैनिक कहते हैं एक संदेश कि सैनिक हैं हम, भाग रहे हैं। सैनिक हैं हम, सरहद सरहद भाग रहे हैं। दुश्मन के सीने पर गोले दाग रहे हैं। और भारत माता के आंचल में सोने वालों, पांव पसारे सो जाओ, हम जाग रहे हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। पुनः पूरे अमेठी परिवार को बहुत बहुत बधाई। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have a song by Nandini, a student of AIBS. We're really sorry. We're really sorry. I think we have a technical glitch here. Now we have another poem by Deepak Gupta. Sorry.
एक चीज मैं कहना चाहूंगा, आवाज इतनी जबरदस्त थी, we are going to miss it, but I would definitely like to.
दोस्तों नमस्कार, मैं हूं आपका अपना हास्य व्यंग कवि दीपक गुप्ता। मेरे बहुत ही आदरणीय और अजीज प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर गुरेंद्र सिंह जी, जो एमिटी यूनिवर्सिटी नोएडा में हैं, उनके माध्यम से ज्ञात हुआ कि हम अपने स्वतंत्रता सेनानी और शेरे पंजाब कहाने वाले आदरणीय लाला लाजपत राय जी के जन्मोत्सव पर एक कार्यक्रम एमिटी यूनिवर्सिटी में आयोजित कर रहे हैं। मैं उनको श्रद्धांजलि स्वरूप नमन करता हुआ अपनी कुछ पंक्तियां प्रेषित करना चाहता हूं इस कार्यक्रम के और एमिटी के हवाले से कि हम कट्टर हैं पर क्रूर नहीं, संयमित हैं मजबूर नहीं, धनबल सब कुछ पास हमारे, पर हम मद में चूर नहीं। कान खोलकर सुन लो दुनिया वालों, इतना याद रहे हम मंजिल के पास बहुत हैं। अब वो दिन भी दूर नहीं जब आसमान में केवल भारत का सूरज ही ठहरेगा और जनगण मन के साथ तिरंगा 10 दिशा में फहरेगा। यही चाहते थे लाला लाजपत राय जैसे स्वतंत्रता सेनानी और हम उनको नमन करते हैं एमिटी यूनिवर्सिटी नोएडा की ओर से। और धन्यवाद डॉक्टर प्रोफेसर गुरेंद्र सिंह जी कि आपने मुझे भी इस यज्ञ में आहुति देने के योग्य समझा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
Now we have a dance performance by Jasmine and Shivani, students of AIBS.
वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम। एहसास थोड़ा तो जगाए अपने दिलों में हम। वंदे मातरम, क्या नाम है अपना जहां में, खड़े हैं कहाँ पे हम। वंदे मातरम, हमें जाना कहाँ और चले हैं कहाँ पे हम। हमसे पूछे ये बात रे वतन। वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरे गीतों में लहरावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू
That was a beautiful dance performance. Now, I'd like to call Shamali and Arsh by Literacy Club for a book review written by Lala Lajpat Rai ji.
Hello and good morning to one and all present here. Today, from the Literary Club, we are going to do a book review written by Lala Lajpat Rai. So, starting about the author, Lala Lajpat Rai began his political career as a member of the Indian National Congress, but later joined the more radical Lal Bal Pal trio, which also included Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. He was a strong advocate for the rights of the farmers and workers and was a vocal critic of British colonial policies in India. In addition to his political activism, Lala Lajpat Rai was also a journalist, and his political writer also started off with his writing skills. He published several books and articles, including Unhappy India, which criticized British policies and advocated for Indian independence. Unhappy India, Lala Lajpat Rai gave a reply to Catherine Mayo, a journalist who wrote a biased book on India depicting only its problems. Rai compared Indian society with the USA and Britain of that time. Rai compared Indian society with the British of that time and pointed out of their situation is not much different than India. A rare book which was published in 1928. He pointed out that situation is not much different than India. This book is really helpful in understanding India and the world society of 1928. In his also the book Unhappy India, he mentioned that not many words are needed to send out this book into the world. He claims neither the originality nor literacy merit for it. In his judgment, it is easier to write an original thesis than to hunt up authorities, verify and quote them. But being the member of subject race, writing a book in defense of his motherland in refutation of the calumnies invented and circulated throughout the world from base motives of the not to refer the quotes from the authorities. There are not many statements in this book. In fact, he doubts that if there are any. There, in support of which he reputed and reliable authority has not been quoted. In support of which he also says it is easy to speak ill of the underdog. It is difficult to defend him. The very fact that he is underdog goes against him. Nothing is more humiliating than the necessity of quoting the testimony of foreigners in defense. The process in itself involves an admission of inferiority. But there is no use hiding the fact that the white peoples of the West are not prepared to accept and believe in the testimony, but that of the persons of their own race and color. This book has been written mainly for them as a reply to the author and the journalist, Catherine Mayo. I now rest this book review and hand it over to Arsh. Thank you.
A very good morning to one and all present here. Today, we all have gathered here for the honoring of a great freedom fighter and one of the finest author we ever had. None other than Lala Rajpat Rai, also known as Punjab Kesari. We'll be discussing few of his work. Now, I, Arsh Jamal, I am going to present to you a detailed explanation of the book England's Debt to India, written by Lala Lajpat Rai. England's Debt to India was published in 1917, in which Lala Lajpat Rai argues that the British owe a debt to India for the exploitation for they put the country and discusses various other events and conditions through which India went through at that time. The book covers and portrays mainly the economical crisis and economical differences through which India went. For example, as mentioned in the book, the cost of administrations in various countries such as Japan, USA, India. These all differences that India suffered and is still suffering is because England used our resources, our fine assets to to have a growth in its own economy, and we are still in debt. The England owes to us, covering a vast discussion of administrative lacking of India in fields such as provisional administration, salary indifferences of government workers, even police forces is suffering in our country even till date due to the assets and the resources which they guys have took over from us. The book further goes in detail about the differences in salaries in India between the lowest wage and the highest wage and the lack of increment for the considerable period of time for the working class. The book portrays that there is not even a single country in the world where the difference between remuneration allowed highest and lowest officials is so disproportionately marked as in India. The book by Lala Lajpat Rai itself justifies several things, conditions, and hardships through which India went and still is suffering, for which England, owes a debt to India. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Shamali and Harsh. Now I request Dr. Aditya to speak on a kaleidoscope beautifully made on the life contributions of Lala Lajpat Rai.
Hello, good morning, and Jai Hind. I find all the speaker has spoken in detail about Lala Lajpat Rai. If you find the Lala Lajpat Rai's entire journey is full of inspiration, and he inspired that today's generation and the past generation also. And Lala Lajpat Rai was called as Punjab cases, so it's give us a lot of inspirational stories from his life. If you see, he worked as a renowned scholar, he's a writer, he's a freedom fighter, he's a nationalist, and he is also an institution builder. And he died at the age of 40, so you can imagine the type of the skill, as Major Sanjay has already mentioned, that he required 24 hours for doing so many work. So, and if I find he started with journey with the founded Street SR district and Indian National Congress, then journalist, he contributed to Tribune. In 1886, he established Dayanand Anglo-Vedic school at Lahore. He traveled to United States in the 1917, and there he met with Sikh communities, and then you find at Alabama, and then he met with the workers in Philippines, and he founded Home Rule League, and he has also started monthly journals of Young India and Hindustan Reform Services. His entire journey is not only for the nation but also for the society. He had to bring a lot of reform also. He himself emphasized the Hindu society has to work on their issues and they have to bring a holistic society. Today, if you find that we are having a lot of colleges and institutions named in his name because his contribution is immense. And this kaleidoscope will give a small glimpses about his journey and his contribution towards the nation building. Over to Kriti to play the video on his kaleidoscope of Shri Lala Lajpat Rai ji. Thank you.
Lajpat Rai. Dhudike is a small village in Punjab, no different to thousands of others. Here on January the 28th, 1865, 8 years after India's first war of independence, was born Lajpat Rai. His parents did not even dream that he would one day be called the Lion of Punjab. His parents were poor. Lajpat Rai's mother was illiterate, but a woman of character, deeply religious and utterly devoted to her family. Lala Radhakishan, his father, was a village schoolmaster. This diary records the date on which his son was born. Lajpat Rai was a precocious child who worked hard at his books and did very well at school. But his father hadn't the means to send him to university. As a young lad of 15, he came to Lahore, where he joined the well-known government college for law. He secured a diploma which enabled him to practice in the junior courts. A few years later, he passed his pleadership examination. This permitted him to start practice in the district courts of Hisar. Not long after, in the early 90s of the last century, he appeared before the Lahore High Court. As an advocate, he was immediately successful. The young Lajpat Rai had even then a forceful personality and a mastery of Hindustani which made him an eloquent and persuasive orator. Lahore in those days was passing through a social and religious ferment generated by two movements, the Arya Samaj and the Brahmo Samaj. Lajpat Rai was greatly attracted by the Arya Samaj, which stood for reformed religion and for nationalism. He joined the Arya Samaj in 1882 when he was 17, and as he often repeated later, never regretted it. His earnings as a lawyer were considerable, but when the time came to choose between legal practice and public service, he abandoned the law. This combination of public service and a political life was chosen also by some of his contemporaries, notably Tilak, Annie Besant, and Dadabhai Nauroji. Lajpat Rai was a voracious reader and something of a scholar. He wrote the biographies of Mazzini and Garibaldi, of Lord Krishna, Shivaji, and Swami Dayanand. Swami Dayanand died on Diwali Day in 1883. With his two friends, Lala Hansraj and Pandit Guru Dutt, also disciples of the Swami, Lajpat Rai decided to raise a memorial to their Guru. And there came into being the first Dayanand Anglo-Vedic College at Lahore. Up to the age of 40, Lalaji, as Lajpat Rai came to be known, devoted his time to constructive work. He helped to establish the Punjab National Bank in 1895, a bank which today has branches all over India. In 1897, he went to the aid of the thousands who suffered in the Rajputana famine. Starvation and death moved him to intensify his efforts in the cause of the common man. In 1904, he organized relief work after the Kangra earthquake. During this period, he helped to found an English bi-weekly paper, the Punjabi, which first appeared in 1904 and was always noted for its fearless writing. The next 6 years were spent abroad, mostly in the United States. He established valuable contacts with many American intellectuals who helped him to organize lecture tours on India. He wrote articles to radical journals such as the New York Times and the New Republic, and published a number of books, of which the most important was Young India, a book dealing with the early history of the national movement. Lalaji also established the India Home Rule League in New York.
So I hope all of you enjoy the video and you've seen how the Lalaji's life was an inspirational life, right? That inspirational life has already changed the life of the Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar, Rajguru, Sukhdev, and it is inspiring every generation. I myself has get inspired because you see at the age of 40, he's writing so many of books and everything, right? And he is working for society, he's working for nation, working for finance sector like Punjab National Bank, Lakshmi Vikas Insurance. So you can imagine how multitasking person is, and the time when India is struggling with his own independence and his own existence, the Lajpat Rai is able to create Indians' presence in global as well as in the international scenario. So I believe that this video and the small celebration which we've done today will inspire young generation to work on the path of Lala Lajpat Rai and build up a developed nation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I'd like to call Shubham to end the ceremony with the word of thanks.
Just one word I say, and such a wonderful program, I didn't feel like leaving. I enjoyed every bit. Thank you so much.
Thank you to have you, sir.
Thank you. Your presence is really much.
Before taking our leaves, first I would like to thank Professor Dr. Gurinder, sir, to always motivate us and take us to challenges and work to full potential and best. Now, first of all, I would like to thank Major General Sanjay Soy. Thank you, sir, for your kind words, for your enlightening words, and enlightening us on Shri Lala Lajpat Rai ji. After that, I would like to thank our panelists and faculty members, Dr. Khatta sir, Dr. Nitin Arora sir, Dr. Aditya Kumar Gupta sir, Priyanka Malik ma'am, and Dr. Astha ma'am. After that, I would like to thank the students of AABS for their performances. Thank you. And last, I would like to thank IT department, without whom this ceremony would not be possible at all. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we would also like to thank Kriti.
Thank you, everyone. It was a wonderful session. Thank you for participation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And thanks the MC for today, Shubham and Kriti. Thank you, both of you. Did a wonderful job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjay
So
sir.
we can close the
For
session.
your time.
Nitin sir.